Okay. Hi, Charbax. I'm Grant Likely. I am with Linaro. I'm Linaro's CTO, and I'm here at Embedded World 2025.
And what's the latest at Linaro?
So we've had quite an exciting year at Linaro. We've been involved with a lot of different projects. The really big one, the one that we're here at Embedded World showing, is a project that we call ONELab. And so what ONELab is we've been working with ARM, we've been working on ARM devices for quite a few years. And a big problem in this space is that ARM vendors, they produce boards, they produce hardware, but then when it comes to actually using them, putting an operating system down on the boards, there's a lot of work that needs to still be done. It's a lot of engineering, there's a lot of embedded, build a vertical stack, and it's really hard to deploy a device without doing a bunch of engineering first.
So these different platforms here?
Yeah, these are different platforms. So what you can see here is we've got an AMD Xilinx Kira platform here. We've got a TI platform, a Qualcomm RB3 Gen 2, and a Renesas RZ G2L. Now what we're doing with this lab is, this is interoperability testing. This is taking ARM boards, ARM platforms, and being able to support them with standard software stacks. So what ONELab does is it allows the board vendors to connect their boards into our testing lab, and then once it's tested, or once it's connected, we can run through testing. So we have a dashboard here, and we're able to run system-ready testing from ARM. We're able to run Bosch Canto's middleware connector. We run mainline Fedora, we run the mainline Yocto, and also OpenEuler. Run it on all the boards. Now the key part here is that this is not, we do custom builds for each board, but instead we use what's actually released by each of those distros. So it's a single binary. And each time we can boot and run and prove that these platforms are ready to go, that they're ready to be deployed because they boot without requiring a custom Yocto build.
And this board with the Linaro logo, it connects everything?
So this is the Linaro automation appliance. And the idea with this, part of the problem with testing, the kind of testing that we're wanting to do, is previously, any test, the customer would have to send us a board. And we'd take it and we put it in our lab, we'd start testing, and then when things go wrong, we have to ship it back to them, or we have to get them to come and help with that. So we needed something that was going to be reliable, that we could use to connect boards to the lab. The other thing that we've discovered in 15 years of doing testing is that when we do custom flywires, when we manually work stuff out, one of the biggest reliability problems is wires getting knocked out of the board. So even in our internal lab, we needed something that was stable. And then the other problem we had is that we'd have one test runner running multiple boards, and that was enough to cause problems where one board failure would affect the other board and cause phantom failures. So what this is the automation appliance, and this is an edge device. So this has a system on module that is running Linux, and it's running the Linaro automation and validation architecture. It's running the Lava runner for running tests. And then we've got a standard connector here, which allows us to build an adapter board for the device that's under test, which mates with the automation appliance, and then the device under test sits on top. So this means we've got a standard way of connecting boards. Regardless of what board, it connects in the same way, and we can control it in the same way from the dashboard. So once the customer has their board, they connect it, they can have it in their own lab. When it's connected to the internet, it connects to the dashboard. And we're then able to drive the testing and produce results.
Is it kind of like next-gen Lava?
It is, it very much is. So, and in this case, it does two things for the customers. The first thing is we're able to do all this testing and give them feedback and say, here's the problems. Here are the places that you need to go fix things, and we can help them get connected with the vendors, or with the OS vendors, to solve their problems. And then the second part, once they're happy with the results, they can publish, they've got control over publishing the results on the website, so that they can use Linaro ONELab as a third-party testing service to prove that their platforms are doing the right thing.
Nice. And so the green color has become, is this a new logo?
Yes, we did. We changed our logo and our brand last year. And so the purple and orange is our new colors. We wanted something that was dynamic. We're here to help the ARM ecosystem. And so the new logo reflects what we're able to do.
ARM solutions at light speed. Can you talk about some of the other things that are happening in Linaro?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got activity across the ARM ecosystem. Some of the more interesting ones is we've continued our work on Windows on ARM. Last year we were showing off laptops, ARM laptops that are running Linux.
Is Linux.
So this is Linux on an ARM laptop. This is the continuation of what we were showing off last year. Another really interesting and exciting part is we've been working on Windows as well. And so this is Windows on ARM, and we've been working on the open source applications and tool chains that are running on top of Windows, getting them ported, getting them running fast. So that's everything from down in the tool chains, LLVM and libraries, all the way up to applications. So the two that I'm most excited about is that we have OBS Studio and Blender, both running on Windows on ARM natively.
Blender is fully smooth, full hardware accelerated. It's stuff to do with 3D. Right?
That's the 3D modeling application. I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head, so I can't answer what the state of
because people need to develop 3D graphics, 3D animations, 3D games, I guess, a whole bunch of stuff on that.
Yeah.
And so that works on Windows on ARM.
Windows on ARM. So I can talk about it. It's functional. I don't know the state of acceleration, but that's the next steps. Is to how do we get the most out of the hardware and make full use of the accelerators that are.
And OBS is an amazing app.
Yeah.
For live video production. Streaming, has all these layers and all these features. It's like very, very popular, free open source app. So every time there's something that's free open source, you might help. You could help.
We can get involved with that. So this was a partnership between Qualcomm and ARM and Windows to help and bring these applications to the Windows ecosystem.
That's great.
So that's the Windows on ARM. The other places that have been exciting, we've continued our work on Android, on working on the Android virtualization framework, working on kernel testing and kernel quality to ensure that with new Android releases that we're able to keep up to date on the kernels, keep up with the security patches. And then on the edge side, we've been looking a lot. It's not just the standardization, which I talked about, that's shown off here, but also as the systems become more complicated, we've got OpenAMP and the way to talk between processors on an embedded system. And
behind there, I see some logos, some of the members.
These are all the members of Linaro, that's right. Yeah.
And there's all these cool projects when it's Linux on ARM, or I guess the work that you're doing with the apps on Windows are potentially also helping for Linux on ARM.
Oh, absolutely.
Laptops too.
Right, because any optimizations that happen for the architecture in one part of the ecosystem, on say on Windows, it's also applicable for on Linux and also on Mac OS, right? So this is, because it's the common architecture, we're able to make use of the same acceleration techniques.
And what you were talking about, Android, like every new open source version Android release, you do a bunch of work in there? Yeah,
so as you can see, Google is one of our members. We have worked very closely with Google over the years. A very big part of that work has supported the Linux kernel quality. And this is ensuring that the Linux kernel, that the software stack is stable, that we're getting the patches in, that we're able to test it well, so that it can be relied on in real products.
In the embedded world or in digital signage, I saw there was a lot of talk of Chromium or Chrome OS, and maybe there's some talk of what the kernel might be in the future. Maybe somebody's talking about, I don't know, an Android kernel that, I don't know, I'm not totally sure. Are you involved in these kind of discussions? Can you help in all this stuff?
I don't think I can really comment on that. I don't have any useful information on what other environments might possibly be used. I can say that the Linux environment, both embedded Linux and also Linux in the form of Android, are very healthy. Neither of those things are going away. They are solid environments with lots of capability. So when it comes to solving real problems of getting products out there, the software stack's there. It's ready to be used.
When I was doing videos at the Linaro Connect a bunch of years ago, all the developers were using x86 laptops.
Yes.
How's it going with ARM laptops now?
Oh, we've got all kinds of ARM.
100%, everybody?
I won't say 100%, but we have a large number of our developers are using laptops, and in fact, we've got quite a few who are using the ARM laptops as their daily drivers.
I saw some really interesting Linux on ARM MacBooks.
Yes.
Are you doing any work with that?
We're not involved with that work, no.
Because that's kind of cool.
It's really cool, yes.
I think people were saying they were impressed in terms of the performance that they got out of it already.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's one of those, it shows off the power of the ARM architecture, of the ARM ecosystem, of how wide we're able to support, how wide the software ecosystem is, and where gains in one place, for example, Linux on the MacBook, on the Apple hardware, that also helps ARM across the board.
Nice. Do you know if Linus Torvalds is using an ARM laptop now? Because a few years ago he was a little bit disappointed with the state of Linux and ARM.
That's
but
right.
now it's pretty good, right?
Yeah, no, he beat me up about that. It's like the wanting to have ARM hardware, but he was not interested in, like, development boards are not developer machines. And so to now have more than one option for real ARM laptops, I mean, we're no longer talking about if ARM is the one to use. ARM is everywhere. ARM is a viable solution in all parts of the industry, including as desktop machines. I mean, so this is no longer an issue. We have lots of ARM hardware to get access to, all the way from large instances in the cloud down to the smallest embedded Linux class devices.
And how fast is it developing in the server market?
Oh, it's huge.
It's crazy?
It's huge. One of our customers, we're doing a big project that they've migrated their application to ARM in the cloud, and now they need to get the most performance out of it, so we're doing optimization. And in fact, we're using the Forge tool chain, the Forge tool set, to do profiling and analysis of large applications to get the most out of the ARM ecosystem, out of the capabilities of the ARM architecture. And they've had really good results out of that.
I heard rumors that the percentages are going quite up fast in terms of how many of these new supercomputers or the big cloud server farms, how much of this is ARM, huh?
Especially with how many of the workloads are now cloud native. With cloud native workloads, the workloads don't care so much about what the architecture is as long as they're able to run. And so when there's a comparison like for like, the ARM instances end up being better bang for the buck.
Do you sometimes stop and think about how many billions of people's lives you've impacted in terms of, there's so many Linux devices everywhere, and the work Linaro has been doing is really gone everywhere.
It's very humbling to see how much impact it's a real privilege to be in this ecosystem, to be able to have been part of helping to bring Linux along, to go from a hobbyist thing to something that is fully mature and that is doing real work in millions of instances, hundreds of millions of instances. Right, it's really exciting to see. So I feel really humbled to have been able to be part of it.
How many maintainers are at Linaro of the Linux?
How many maintainers? 50 or so. I don't trust that number. I can't tell you off the top of my head.
But that's a lot.
Yeah.
That means...
And that's across a lot of different projects.
All right. Okay. But thank you so much for giving an update on the latest with Linaro.
Yeah,
and you have the event coming up.
We have Linaro
and
Connect
who's going to come to that event?
That is in May. That is the 13th to the 15th, I believe. Go check the Linaro website. They will tell you. The registration is open. The schedule, I believe, has been published today. So you can go and take a look. We've got content all the way from Edge, embedded, the data center, Windows on ARM, Android, optimization, testing, like across the board. It's going to be a great engineering conference. So anyone who's interested, I encourage you, go check out the website, look at the schedule, register, and see you in Lisbon.
Sorry to ask one more question.
Yes.
What's happening with AI?
Everything's happening with AI.
So that means you're involved in accelerating a bunch of stuff that could potentially...
Where AI is, where our position on this one, AI is a fundamental workload. Every single bit of computing has the potential of we're going to need to be running some form of machine learning or AI or inferencing on those nodes. And so the applications, the models are going to need to be portable. But we're finding that, and again, this comes back to ONELab, the substrates, the reliability of the platform has to be there, and the portability of the software on the platform needs to be there. So the way that we're handling or supporting that is we're making sure that the platform is stable so that deploying an AI model on an ARM device is trivial, that we don't have to go do a whole bunch of extra engineering just to make it work. All the pieces that are needed are in the box. So the AI companies can go do what they're good at and come with these great products that make use of the AI capability and have a great user experience.
Because one of the trends is the open source AI models.
Yes, yeah.
And that's kind of cool. It's really interesting to understand how it's open source. Can people really replicate the whole thinking, or is it just trademarked as open source, OpenAI should have been and stuff like that?
I think that's, I am not the person to comment on that. I think that the whole open source AI and that ecosystem has a lot of work to do, and they're working it out, right? That's part of how an industry matures. So it's going to be a very interesting space to watch.